everybody, how are you guys doing today? Hope you're doing awesome. So the video I have for you is, as you can tell by the title, it's gonna be a story time video or a chit chat video or like a talk through video. It really has nothing to do with beauty. It's basically just a story of my life. I feel like I have a good message to get across. I am gonna go out and say that if you don't care about what I've done in my life and if you don't care about hearing about stories, then obviously this isn't the video for you. And for all you little ones out there, this may not be the video for you too. I have plenty of other videos and tutorials and stuff that you guys can watch. I just don't know that you will necessarily understand and get what this video today is about. I hope you don't understand what it's about. Yeah, disclaimer, if you don't want to be sad, you may not want to watch this video. Yeah, so I'm just going to go ahead and start out by explaining the significance of today. So today is St. Patrick's Day, March 17th. To a lot of people, St. Patrick's Day is a day of drinking, it's a day of celebration, and in a sense that is what today is. Of course it's not an actual Irish holiday, which is just an American holiday that, you know, beer sales are increased and the Irish flag is flown everywhere and we wear green, and if you don't wear green then you get pinched. Today, for me and a lot of other people, this isn't a very good day for a lot of us. I'm gonna need this. If I cry during this, and I don't know why, I'm literally like losing my voice. So if I cry during this, I'm really sorry. I brought some TP with me. But basically today is the 5-year anniversary of my ex-boyfriend slash fiance. We were engaged at one point when we were really young. Today is the 5-year anniversary of his death. Anyway, his name was Christopher Sutliff. He was just the sweetest guy ever. Like the sweetest guy fucking ever. Like anybody and everybody that knew him just knew that he was just such a good guy, so caring, way more than he should have been. We dated basically right out of high school is when we started dating, so that for me that was 2008. We had mutual friends. He lived in the neighborhood across from my neighborhood. I met him. I was currently dating another guy at the time. This other guy's name was Billy. I was dating him for like 2 years. I was dating Billy and we had been dating for about 2 years. And you know when you're like 17, which is how old I was, and you're a 17-year-old girl and you just want someone to pay attention to you. Like, all I wanted was just a guy to pay attention to me. And me and Billy were dating, and I feel like high school year, like senior year, we were dating junior and senior year. High school year, Billy started going to, he was basically like, he went to like first period at my high school, and then he would go to a college, where basically when he graduated high school, he already had his associate's degree as well as his high school diploma. So anyway, so Billy was like basically never around, and I truly felt like he was dating someone else and cheating on me. So we kind of started to drift apart, Billy and I did, and I found comfort and love in Topher. And I should have broken it off. Of course, I didn't. And one thing led to another, and I ended up cheating on Billy, which I'm not saying was right. It was wrong. Very wrong. And if I could go back and take it back, I would. But I can't do that. That's not how life works. I feel like I'm telling you all of this because I think it's really important for people to see that we're not perfect. I am not perfect. I have not made the best decisions in my life. So basically, I cheated on Billy, left him for Topher. Really hated Topher. Like, hated him. Topher and I dated for a while, and I feel like when you're a girl, I know everybody's different, but when you're a girl and you're 17, you know, so I left the asshole for a sweet guy. Topher was the sweet guy. He was a sweetheart. Like, never did anything wrong to me. Like, the year and a half we were together before I left, he never did anything wrong to me. He was never rude to me. But somehow, some way, I treated him like shit. I treated him like shit. It's like, you have an asshole and you want a sweet guy, and then once you get a sweet guy, you're like, ugh, he's too nice. Like, ugh, I need an asshole. So I was like, oh my god, I need to find somewhere in between. So of course, over time, with sweet guys, no matter how nice they are and whether they do anything wrong to you or not, I was like, oh man, he's smothering me, you know? And being a 19-year-old girl, I'm like, I just graduated high school. I have the whole world, you know, ahead of me. Wasn't ready to settle down. But that August, we got together May, so right after high school, 2008. And I remember he proposed to me in August, and I knew about it because he asked me what my ring size was, so I was like, obviously, like, yeah, Topher's gonna propose to me. I remember I was coming home from work, and he proposed to me outside of my car. I remember not being ready to do it, but I was 18, almost 19, and I said yes anyway. And I think that was the first mistake I made, was saying yes when I didn't mean it, or when I knew it wasn't right. But he was just so sweet, like, he was just so sweet, and I was like, you know what, I do really like him, this could work out, you know, worst comes to worst, it's an engagement, it's not like we're getting married already. Jumped into being engaged to him, and I had just gotten out of a 2-year relationship with some other guy. It was my first love, and I can tell his family, they kind of had to figure it out, and I think they were all just like, okay, you just met this girl. I remember him telling me that his mom said that I had baggage. Shannon was right. His mom was right. I had baggage, and I was no good for him. As time passed, I just felt like it wasn't perfect for me. You know, like, he was a country boy, which there's nothing wrong with that. I just feel like he wasn't right for me. It's not that he was bad to me or bad for me, you know, just sometimes, even with friends, just sometimes it's just not meant to work out. I just kind of knew the whole time that it just wasn't meant to be, kind of a thing. It like wasn't right, but I went with it anyway because I didn't want to upset him. For, you know, for a year or so, and then I started talking to a guy that I had met at a concert previously, like while I was in high school, while I was dating Billy, actually. I had met this guy that lived in St. Augustine, and his name was Andrew. I met him, and we had talked on and off while I was dating Topher, of course. And let me just say, like Wendy Williams said when Brad and Angelina broke up, she said, somehow you got him. And that is true. I cheated on Billy and left him for him. So eventually I cheated on Topher with Andrew, which is the guy that I met from the concert. Ridiculous how it happened too. He actually caught us. He caught us at my parents' house, and I had Andrew stay the night over my parents' house. Mom and Dad, if you're watching, super sorry. I don't know how you guys didn't wake up. I don't know how I wasn't, a fire wasn't lit under my ass or something, but so my parents had a 2-story house at the time, and all of our bedrooms were upstairs. My parents' bedroom was pretty secluded from the rest of the house. And I remember Susan, my little sister, was downstairs on the computer, and I guess Topher knocked on the door, and me and Andrew were upstairs in my bedroom. And I just remember a knock at my door, and of course I thought it was my dad. I was like, oh shit, Dad. And so I remember Andrew was naked. He rolled off onto the side of bed towards the window. Like, he just rolled off the bed and like hid under, like kind of under the bed. I had like a bra and underwear on, but so I answered the door, my bedroom door, and it was Topher, and he was just like, where is he? And I was like, oh my fucking god, oh my god, like seriously, oh my god, I could not believe this was happening. He caught us. He's like, where is he? And he walked around and looked at him, and he was just like, wow, because Andrew was like naked on the ground. And the craziest thing was that he still wanted me. He still wanted to be with me, and I was just like, why either of these guys wanted to be with me was like a fucking news to me. Like, holy shit, I'm a piece of shit. Why do any of you guys want me? So basically we went, and I got dressed, and Andrew got dressed, and we went downstairs and talked on the driveway outside, and Topher basically was like, you need to choose me or him. So I was like, I need time. So my rude ass, I told Topher that because me and Andrew were going to go to Busch Gardens. So I was like, I'm going to Busch Gardens with Andrew, and I'm going to make my decision. So basically, I chose to move to St. Augustine with Andrew. I just remember the day I moved, like, because when I decided I was moving, I told my parents, and they were like, what? With who? So my dad, I had a car at the time, and my dad was like, well, you're not done paying on your car, so if you leave, you cannot have your car. So I was just like, well, I'm gonna leave anyway. I don't need a car. I can always get one later. I literally just left with barely anything. They didn't let me take any furniture. I had no bed. I was just like, you know what, Mom and Dad? I'm leaving. I'm a grown adult. I'm 19 years old. I can do what I want. So I just remember that morning he came over the house and I sat in his car with him and he just cried. And I remember I cried and we cried together, and I think I kind of knew it wasn't a good decision, and he knew it wasn't a good decision, but that was the decision I'd made and that's what I was going to go through with. And I remember I left. We would kind of talk off and on through Facebook over, it was 3 years until he died from when I moved out. I moved away. So I moved, and I remember aside from that, he had other girlfriends that he was with that basically treated him like shit. Like, all the girls that were with him treated him like fucking shit. And I had a friend, my good friend Christine Smith, or Mendoza, she got married. But my friend Christine, I was really good friends with in high school. I had taken Topher over for a 4th of July party at her house, so she met Topher for the first time at the 4th of July party, but never really like kept in contact with him. But I just remember after I moved away, they became really close, and basically she was there to pick up all the pieces for him that I had left behind. She was there to be somebody good for him. His thing was Bud Light, so every year I drink we all drink a Bud Light for him. Christine and Topher became really, really good friends, and she hated me for a long time, which was really fair. Like, every single one of his friends was like, Karen, you bitch, you deserve to die, blah, 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 all this stuff. So I heard it all. I just remember the last time I saw him, it was January of 2012. I had broken up with Andrew, and I was like, okay, I'll go and see him. And we met at Chili's, and we just had a few beers and had a good time. I didn't know that was going to be the last time I'd ever see him. I don't remember exactly where he lived, but we went over his grandparents' house, which I hadn't been to in years, and we used to go over there all the time. I just remember I went over his grandparents' house, and it was like nothing had changed, and it was just a really nice feeling that I hadn't felt in a long time. So basically after that, like, we talked a little bit on and off, but not really a whole lot, just because I'm just not a super social person. Like, a lot of times if I'm, you know, like, talking to you is because I'm seeing you in person. I just don't, like, text people that much. I'm just kind of live in whatever's happening right now in my life kind of way. And at that time I had 3 jobs, so I was working a lot just to make ends meet kind of a thing. I remember the night that I found out that he got into an accident, and Mom and Dad, sorry, family members, sorry. I used to smoke pot a lot. And I just remember one night I had just moved into my new apartment, my first apartment, legit, totally by myself. And I was hanging out with my neighbors that lived in the hallway across, and anyway, we were all like smoking weed or whatever. And I just remember I got a call from Sharon, which is my twin sister. And Sharon was like, Topher's in a coma. And I was just like, what? Like, I just remember I immediately, like, started to bawl, and I remember my phone was dying, like, literally dying. Didn't even know what hospital he was staying in. And I remember I just drove. And honestly, I don't even know how I made it. How I did not die that night. Didn't have a phone charger, didn't even know what hospital he was at. I remember I drove to Daytona Beach from St. Augustine to Daytona Beach and walked in the emergency room, and obviously they probably thought I was like, I don't know, fucked up or something. I was like obviously sobbing my eyes out, and I was just like, is there a Christopher Sutcliffe here? And they were like, no, he's not here. And I'm like, oh my God. And I remember they were like, well, he might be at the Daytona one, like right by the NASCAR Speedway or the Daytona Speedway or whatever. So somehow I followed those H hospital highway signs to that hospital, and I remember I got there and they were like family only, and I wasn't allowed to see him, and it wasn't visiting hours. But basically I never saw him in the hospital because I wasn't allowed to. I'm kind of glad I didn't, because apparently, anyway, so it was a motorcycle accident. A girl pulled out in front of him and didn't see him. You know, she wasn't drunk or anything, but she didn't see him and hit him. And I guess he had a helmet on and everything, but from what I'm aware of, I could be wrong. Most people didn't tell me anything because I didn't deserve to know anything, and that's totally fair. I think he basically almost shattered the whole left side of his body. So, and I know that brain was the issue, so even if he would have made it out, he would have probably had to have like reconstructive surgeries and so much rehabilitation and everything, and now I have the memory of how he would want me to remember him, if that makes sense. It happened on a Saturday night, and the weirdest thing about that is I noticed this year on my time hop that, it was the 10th, because he died exactly a week later. He was in the hospital for a week, and today's the 17th. On my time hop it showed, because I met my husband now, Ben, I met him through Match.com, and the weirdest thing to me that gives me chills is, I signed up for Match.com the same day he got into his accident, which I still just can't even, like, it's just so coincidental that that happened, and I'm getting like goosebumps. It's so coincidental that that happened, and I remember I was like a mess for a full week. We all were. And I just remember getting the text from Christine, St. Patrick's Day around 9 o'clock, and I remember her getting a text. I'm pretty sure she sent out like a mass text to everybody, but it was like, Topher's gone to heaven or whatever, and I just remember like I was in my bedroom and I just like collapsed onto the floor and cried my fucking eyes out, like more than I've ever cried before. I just remember being like, wow, the only person that has ever loved me and the only guy that I'd ever been with that was good to me just died. The guilt of his death and the guilt of me cheating on him, which I know that he knows that I'm sorry. Like, I cannot tell him I'm sorry for all the shit I've done to him. I could tell him oblivions, and I truly feel like he knows that I'm sorry. But the fact that I can't tell him now, I still can't continue to tell him I'm sorry, is what hurts the most. And that's a guilt that I think people don't understand, because when I went to his funeral, and I get this, everybody was like, why the fuck are you even here? Why are you here? You are the last person that deserves to be here. And I heard everything. So any bad thing anybody wanted to say, you're a slut, blah, blah, blah. Like, trust me, I have heard it all. And I just remember telling my mom that night before his funeral, I just remember telling her, like, it should have been me. It should have been me that died and not him, because he was such a good guy. Like, I was the one that was a shitty person. Like, why did it have to be him? Why couldn't it have been me? And of course my mom was like, don't you dare say that. Like, I bawled my eyes out at his funeral. And I remember after the funeral, I went over his parents' house, and his mom had some of his stuff for me. And I just remember she kind of reassured me, and was just like, he loved you, Karen. Like, you were his love, is what she said. And she was like, you were young, you know, you weren't ready. She gave me like his shirt that he wore all the time that I got him for one of his birthdays. I got him this like blue shirt, and she just had some things that I had given him, which I have in a box that's not over here. But anyway, I have a whole box that has a bunch of his stuff in it. But the point I'm trying to make is, be good to people and don't cheat. I mean, if you know that something isn't right, don't do it. You know, learn from my mistakes. I think, unfortunately, with us being human and being emotional and not wanting to hurt people's feelings until you end up hurting people more by not doing it. Like, if you don't want to be with somebody, don't be with them. And this goes for friendships, this goes for relationships, this goes for any sort of thing that's happening between you and someone else. If you don't want to be friends with somebody and they're not good for you, don't be, please. Save yourself the agony, save them some agony if you're just gonna, kind of blow them off slowly. Like, just be good to people, especially when they have done nothing wrong to you. People don't change until there's something extreme that happens. And I was a perpetual cheater until something extreme happened. Like, I never should have cheated on him. I never should have mistreated him. And now that he's gone, I have that realization, and I have that guilt to live with for the rest of my life. And I will live with it for the rest of my life. If I'm probably not the only one that does this, but I just can't help but being like, well, maybe if I talk out loud in my closet by myself that he will hear me. And I just wish I could say I'm sorry one more time, and I wish I could make things better, but I can't, because that's not how life works. And I think it's just a reminder of how important every bit of time that we have is, because you never know when it's going to be your last. Sure, she will never forget that she killed somebody and that he was a really, really good guy. And I just have this fear of losing Ben, and I'm like, you're never allowed to have a motorcycle ever, 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 ever. You know, because I'm like, I just want to hold on to him. And when I think about Topher, I think it helps me remember to be good to myself, to be good to Ben, to be good to everybody, and not take anything for granted. Holy shit, not take anything for granted. And I feel like his death and him in general has made me the person I am today. And I want to say that I would take back cheating on him, and I feel like I would if it wouldn't change everything. Because if I wouldn't have done that, I wouldn't be here today. If I hadn't have chosen Andrew, I never would have moved to St. Augustine. And if I never would have moved to St. Augustine, I never would have met Ben. I don't fucking know where I'm going with this video, but the moral of this story after this long rant is just love people, man. And think about things before you do them. And if you really do love somebody, you won't cheat on them. Because I hope this never happens to you. And I hope you never ever feel the way that I feel about the decisions I've made and the regrets that I have that I'm going to carry with me for the rest of my life because I treated somebody that was amazing like shit. Yeah, that's my story. If you guys like this video, give me a thumbs up. If you're not subscribed, I do other... Excuse me. If you guys have a similar story or something that you can relate to, or you need somebody to talk to, I understand. I am here for you. Thank you guys. I hope you didn't drown in your sorrows watching this video. But I'll see you later.